Good evening and welcome to the Transparency. It is Thursday nights, just before December 1st here hits in about 2 hours my time. Not sure where you're at, but again, welcome to the Transparency. Tonight I'm going to drop a bomb, maybe a couple welcome moderators, members, subscribers. This one is for you. This is probably the biggest live I've done since the arrest of Bryan Kohberger. Thank you guys for being here.
Listen, folks, I know there's a history here. I'd like to get this hearing in today. You know, everybody needs to just focus on the relevant facts, okay? I know there's a history here.
Are you talking up by Sunset Mart? Up the hill by the gas station?
Yeah.
Okay. Why did you... All right, who's responsible here?
What's that?
Who's responsible here? Whose house is this?
Yeah, haven't been drinking or anything, right?
No.
Okay, drive careful, okay?
Thank you.
This is what the other group had that ran away.
Oh, really? You just ditched it? Awesome.
Yeah, those ones kept walking in the car and the other one.
It's truly for the win.
That I was given to. So there was 2 different discs. Okay? They all knew about it.
We're not here to talk about the alcohol stuff, okay?
Okay, yeah.
But this is the second noise complaint we've had here tonight within 2 hours.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Is this your place?
Yeah.
Perfect. You know why we're here?
Isolate noise.
Noise, yeah.
Yeah.
Big speaker right there.
Yeah.
Nothing against having a party. Once neighbors start calling in, then we have an issue.
Like brains, and like if you need a lot of brains, you're gonna be in trouble.
Tonight, hopefully you're not going to be in trouble. I'm going to help you guys through it. I do have a 5-minute pre-record. At the end of the 5-minute pre-record, there is your first boom, and then we'll get into it. Tomorrow, which is December 1st, the prosecution was given until December 1st to get all of the IGG DNA information into the judge. And then the judge would then be going through those documents, whatever was turned over. And December 1st is tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. December 1st is here. It's going to fly by. It's holiday season, and holidays, I think, always fly by. We just had Thanksgiving, and now we're basically going to be 25 days away from Christmas. With that said, I want to caution everybody to say this. How does Judge know if everything was to be turned over? How would Judge know if everything was actually, in fact, turned over? With that said, here is the 5-minute pre-record.
I'm going to set a deadline for all the information to be provided to the court by December 1st. That should be sufficient time.
So it's a multi-step process. So
A knife sheath, a lab, and then a very early decision.
A criminal complaint was filed yesterday here in Latah County, charging the defendant, Mr. Kohberger, with 4 counts of first-degree murder, in addition to felony burglary, which involves entering the residence with the intent to commit the crime of murder. Mr. Kohberger, and let me preface, there is a pending case now in court, and I and my office and the investigators have to live with the restrictions that our Supreme Court places on pretrial publicity. That said, I promise you we will share with you, through the court process or otherwise, whatever we are allowed to. I just appreciate your patience on that. The factual basis for the charges are summarized in what's called a probable cause affidavit that is on file with the court.
Nowhere in the probable cause affidavit did it mention Bill Thompson's decision to move forward with IGG off the rip as a lead tool in this investigation. And nowhere in the probable cause affidavit did it mention how quickly they obtained the name Bryan Kohberger from their IGG efforts, this lead. This lead from the IGG work led law enforcement to focus their investigation on Bryan Kohberger almost exclusively. The DOJ, how important is it? I mean, it is the Department of Justice. Are you aware of how much documentation is needed when law enforcement uses IGG for a criminal investigation? Spoiler alert number 1, according to the DOJ interim policy, the decision to use IGG comes from the prosecutor and investigating agent. They both have to agree that this is the best course of action at that respective time. Oh, and another spoiler, the prosecutor is to be contacted almost every step of the way during the course of using IGG for criminal investigations. Now, did you know before people used DNA as part of this old-fashioned process of building family trees and having a genealogist to tell them who they were related to, people would just go to town and start digging up documents and doing it themselves, especially the first layers. Bomb number 1, boom. What if I told you Bryan Kohberger's grandmother cheated on grandpa? Yes, what if I told you that Bryan Kohberger's grandma cheated on grandpa? Say what? Well now, isn't that going to royally fuck up your family tree, or rather your attempts at building it and securing first cousin type matches? Boom. Tick, tock, tick, tock. Welcome to the Transparency. Again, in case you missed that, what if grandma cheated on grandpa? Now, wouldn't that just royally fuck up your family tree, especially if the cheating occurred when you had Michael Kohberger. You guys know who that is, right? You guys know who that is, right? Now that's what you call a motherfucking boom. All right, guys, again, welcome to Truth and Transparency. What if I told you that Bryan Kohberger's dad, his father, who would be Bryan Kohberger's grandfather, what if I told you that Bryan Kohberger's grandfather is really truly not his grandfather? What if you were told that? You know, you guys know what that means, right? If grandma and grandpa, who at the time, they're not grandma and grandpa, they're husband and wife, right? And they're having kids. And if come to find out that out of all the siblings, when mama got pregnant, if one of those babies came out and they in fact did not have the same daddy as the other kids, what that would mean is that would royally fuck up your ability to work a family tree to get to your lead. When you have parentage, disruptions and or questions on who people's parents are, when you find that out, that causes big problems in building your family tree, to the point of your first cousins, who should be strong layers to you, who should be supplying you if they in fact did ever do a genealogy test and stuff like that, they're going to be high matches with you, okay? But if your first cousins aren't in fact your first cousins, because like I said, grandma and grandpa are really not grandma and grandpa to you. They are, but they aren't, because grandpa is really not your grandpa because he is not the father of your dad. Boom. Now, that's going to royally fuck your shit up. More importantly, the speed in which you think you're doing any of this is just, not going to happen. So this isn't the first time that people have been questioning and saying that they thought that Bryan's dad wasn't Bryan's dad. Okay. Well, you were thinking about it, but where this all goes, south for the FBI, south for that's why I cannot wait for this. I pushed back this live to this day instead of yesterday for a reason. We are approaching, it becomes midnight here in just an hour and a half. But on the West Coast, that time, and they got extra time, and then they have actually all the way until the end of that day. But this information that they say that they're going to turn over, okay, I can't wait for it. I can't wait for it because the DOJ has, and we're going to get into it with Hector here, the DOJ has literally this intern policy that requires, or I shouldn't say requires, it recommends, it tells you that this is how you should handle something. And when it comes to using investigative genealogy. And the first thing is that this is not the first step that you ever take. and your prosecutor. So when we hear Bill Thompson talk and that he has no idea what's going on, first of all, I'm going to show you guys, I have the policy right here. I'm going to point out some stuff. That is a lie. Okay. That is a flat out lie. Your prosecutor is the decision-making person to say right off the rip that we should be doing this or we shouldn't. They have to agree with the investigative agency, which in that fact would be Moscow Police Department. The Moscow Police Department hits up the prosecutor. That's how this all works. And then the prosecutor and law enforcement have to agree that, okay, we're going to take this first step, which is going this route and using investigative genealogy. Okay. So I'm going to turn over here to Hector the projector, as I think it'll help you just see some shit. All right. All right. The interim policy applies to all criminal investigations in which an investigative agency in the Department of Justice has exclusive or concurrent jurisdiction. Now, we're talking about contact here. Investigative collaboration. If each of the criteria set forth in Section V has been satisfied, the investigative agency shall contact a designated official at the CODIS laboratory. That is contact number one. So what Ann Taylor is going to be looking for is that this is going to be your first contact, that the investigative agency shall contact a designated official at CODIS laboratory, or DLO, better known as. The investigative agency shall document its consultation with DLO. After consulting with the DLO, contact number 2, the investigative agency shall contact the prosecutor. Do you see that right there? The prosecutor. The investigative agency shall advise the prosecutor of the nature and status of the investigation. The results of the DLO evaluation of the candidate forensic sample and any reasonable scientific alternatives before you're going to go this route. After discussing these issues and based on the information provided, the prosecutor, do you see this right here? The prosecutor and the investigative agency must agree that hey, this is the best route. FGGS is a necessary and appropriate step at that stage of the investigation to develop investigative leads or to identify the unidentified human remains, because this is usually used for when you, like, this is not used off the rip motherfucking ever. This is used way later in the process, but here, when Bill Thompson wants to tell all of us that he doesn't know what's going on and you're a liar. All you have to do, if you're Ann Taylor, is be so calm like a cucumber like she's been, and take your happy ass in that in-chambers camera review, whatever they're going to do, and simply be ready to ask some questions, which is, you want dates. Well, Bill, when were you notified? Because according to the interim policy, this is what should have happened. So, you know, you're going to be asking for dates, and you're going to be going in a certain order. Okay. And what I believe Judge will be able to see from that is that you're trying to put together a timeline, because the biggest thing is, are you going after my client because of IGG, or did you start investigating my client because of the car? Well, I'm already going to blow up your IGG efforts, and that you are, you think that you got to Bryan Kohberger. Okay, how you got to Bryan Kohberger, which I just cannot wait. So let's move forward here. This is now contact number 3. Okay. Investigative agencies shall identify themselves as law enforcement to GG services and centers and search FGG profiles only in those services that provide explicit notice to their service users and the public that law enforcement may use their service sites to investigate crimes or to identify unidentified human remains. So we're not dealing with unidentified human remains. We are dealing with a profile from a crime scene. The investigating agency shall, if possible, configure service site user settings to control blah, blah, blah. Now, contact number 4. Now, this is all the stuff that they should have, because guess why you have to have it? In certain cases, the genetic association of FGG profile with a GG service user conjunction with subsequent genealogy research may identify one or more third parties. Now, a third party is when you are doing your IGG and you come across, let's say, the matches of your person. If you try to contact them, all right, to say you want to obtain their DNA, okay, that's considered third party. I also believe, in my personal opinion, that third party is going to include, when we're going to get here just a little bit down where this next contact happens, which is right here. So what you need, though, is, in order to do all that, you usually can just contact the person. And if a third party wants to just, be involved that way. Otherwise, if you're trying to do anything, covert, here we go. This is contact number 5. This is contact 5. Which is, an investigative agency must seek informed consent from third parties before collecting reference samples that will be used for IGG, unless it concludes that the case-specific circumstances provide reasonable grounds to believe that this request would compromise the integrity of the investigation. So we aren't going to tell people about this because it's going to ruin our investigation. Either way, this is a ton of communicating. All right. If that determination is made, the investigative agency shall consult with and receive approval from the prosecutor. Do you see how many times the word prosecutor is in this DOJ interim policy? Your prosecutor isn't just sitting back and is not part. This is when a situation arises. Now, it makes sense if you think about Bill Thompson's interviews, when he wants to say what he knows. Well, yeah, you know shit because you were contacted to be involved in the IGG process. This wasn't done, okay, without your knowledge. And if it was, then it wasn't done by the interim policy. Now, right there again, your approval from the prosecutor before covertly collecting any reference samples that will be used. The investigating agency shall also consult with DLO, which is the laboratory. So the lab, again, another form of communication, documented communication. who may provide guidance to investigators about the type and nature of the blah, 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 blah. Covert collection shall be conducted in a lawful manner. Now check this out. Ready? In addition, which we learn this when we take the SATs, this is one thing that they teach us. When you're going to take the SATs, you need to pay attention to key words and phrases. In addition to means that has to happen, and then this has to happen. Like, in addition to obtaining it lawfully, and you have this third party DNA, in addition, a search warrant shall be obtained by the investigative agency before a vendor laboratory conducts FGG analysis on any covertly collected reference samples. So then, if you're needing third-party reference samples, you then have to obtain, even after you do it lawfully, a search warrant from basically the lab to be able to use it for your IGG stuff. Again, this is documentation, this is communication. This stuff it's there. You cannot just do any of this without talking to somebody. Like, this just doesn't happen. Now, I want to read this term. Before authorization is granted, the prosecutor should notify and consult with the prosecutor in the jurisdiction where the sample will be covertly collected. Now, this is where boom, number motherfucking 2. Ready? I love it. You can only use a lab in the jurisdiction of where your crime has happened. Okay? Where the person is, where the crime has happened. Okay? You cannot use a lab like going to Virginia and using Quantico for anything of this fucking shit. This case, you cannot use Quantico for damn thing. Is not, no jurisdiction, bullshit, and they took shit to Quantico because it's in fucking documents. Boom. You can't do it. They did it. It's in documentation, and you can't do it. That is boom, number 2, and that is huge. Again, it's really, 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 really low. Again, before authorization is granted, the prosecutor should notify and consult with the prosecutor in the jurisdiction where the sample will be covertly collected to ensure that all applicable legal, authorized, and local procedures relevant to sample accusations are followed. Now, how do I want to say this? Well, I won't. I'll wait to the end. I won't say anything yet. Now, okay. When the Department of Justice and one or more state or local prosecuting authorities have concurrent jurisdiction of the crimes under the investigation, the prosecutor means the Assistant Attorney General of the United States Attorney or the state or local prosecuting official whose office will be prosecute the case in the event that charges are filed. Boom. Now, was the Idaho Attorney General contacted? We'll find out. FGGS is a law enforcement technique used to generate investigative leads. Investigative agencies shall not arrest a suspect based solely on a genetic association generated by a GG service. Traditionally, genealogy research and other investigative work is required to determine the true nature of any genetic association. Okay. Now, here we go. Boom, number 3. Sample and data control and disposition. Now, there has been talk because Bill Thompson came out and said, we don't have anything because they did what the DOJ policy said and they got rid of everything. So there is nothing. The fuck are you talking about? Like, I'm curious if he sat down with somebody after he wrote up his, what you would call this, he wanted a protective order, okay? And wrote all up in it that the FBI deleted everything, okay? Well, let's just go ahead and show you guys how this truly works. All FGG profiles and GG service account information and data shall be treated as confidential government information consistent with any applicable laws, regulations, policies, and procedures. Now, number 1, if a suspect, now you guys can remember this. Remember when Bill Thompson wrote his little motion up and said, we sent it to Ortham, and then all of a sudden we decided to say, stop, don't do anything with that. Send it back. Send it to the FBI. Remember that? And so they sent it out and they said, no, then we decided that Ortham wasn't going to do it. And so the FBI is going to do it. So it was like, cease, like don't do anything with it. Okay, let me just show you how this works. Number 1, if a suspect is arrested and charged with a criminal offense while FGG is in progress, the investigative agency shall promptly contact the relevant vendor laboratory. Again, there's contact. And direct that all testing cease at a point in time when the forensic or reference sample can be preserved. The investigative agency shall also request that the sample extract be returned directly to the submitting law enforcement agency or the custodial CODIS laboratory as applicable. The investigative agency shall document its request and compliance by the vendor, laboratory, or DTC service. Okay. Now, again, this is if a suspect is arrested and charged with a criminal offense while FGG is in progress. That is what happens. Now, again, contact documentation, regardless. Now, contact documentation, here's this. If a suspect is arrested and charged with a criminal offense after FGG profile has been entered into one or more direct-to-consumer services, the investigative agency shall make a prompt formal request that all FGG profiles and all FGG profiles and associated account information and data held by any such service be removed from its records, and provided they remove them from their records, but they're provided directly to the investigative agency. They're not removed as in you delete these. That's not what removed means. You are removing them from being able to be compared, okay? But everything that you do, you're giving it to the agency that you're working with, okay? Now, more importantly, the investigative agency shall document its request. Okay, so you're going to have another fucking date. And compliance by the DTC services. All FGG profile, account information, and data shall be retained. Do you know what retained is, Bill Thompson? Shall be retained. All FGG profiles, account information, and data shall be retained by the investigative agency for potential use during prosecution and subsequent judicial proceedings. Do you understand that unless Judge wants to be overturned at the supreme level, in my opinion, this is a no-brainer on what is supposed to happen. Okay? Now, retained does not mean delete. We don't have anything because the FBI just deleted it. No, motherfuckers, y'all full of shit. Now, if a suspect is arrested and charged with a criminal offense after FGG profile has been entered into an open data personal genomics DNA database, the investigative agency shall promptly again remove the FGG profile and all associated account information and data from the database. The investigative agency shall document the removal of this information and data. It shall be retained. Everything is retained by the investigative agency for potential use during prosecution and subsequent judicial proceedings. Now, let me give you guys these little footnotes for you. These requests should be made only after the suspect's known STR DNA profile has been manually compared to the forensic profile previously uploaded to CODIS, and it has been determined that the profiles match. So when you would have went and obtained, this DNA to compare it to, you would have needed, how are you comparing anything from the sheath if you don't have the, if you went and got trash and this trash does not belong to Bryan Kohberger at all, because you don't even know, who's trash. I mean, whatever the fuck you think that you're going and getting, but it's telling you that these requests should be made only after the suspect's known STR DNA profile has been manually compared to the forensic profile previously uploaded to CODIS. And then the profile information and data should be removed only after the suspect's STR DNA profile has been manually compared to the forensic profile previously uploaded to CODIS, and it has been determined that the profiles match. Now, removing anything does not mean that you're deleting its makeup, all your work. That's not what that means. It means that you're taking it out of the consumer fucking databases. All right? Because take a look here. Right here, it sums it all up. And it's very, 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 it's so obvious. Subject to applicable law in all cases that result in a criminal prosecution, reference samples obtained from third parties for FGGs, including all extracts, all derivatives, any and all GG service account information, and all data shall be destroyed by the investigative agency only after the entry of an appropriate judicial order. So please tell me where we have come across any order from the courts saying that you can go ahead and destroy anything. Oh, that's right. They're not there. What is up, Drip Drop? Gotta say hi to Drip Drop. Phew. Again, do you understand what this means? You need a court order, a judicial order to do anything as far as when you want to talk about destroying. Okay, we're talking about when you're removing something. So this is boom number 4. You cannot destroy anything because removing something is you're just removing it from a database. That's not, you're not deleting it. You're not never seeing it again. You're just removing something. Okay. Now, when Bill Thompson uses in his motions to say that then they followed DOJ policy and they, removed it. So they don't have any of the work. Bill Thompson, then you need to like go. I mean, maybe this is the first cases you've ever done and you've ever used IGG. I don't know. But I would never look like a fucking idiot and be writing a motion and somebody saying, no, dude, that's not even how that works. You know what I mean? No. You have to have a court order to destroy anything. And it's right here. So nothing can be destroyed until, right here, only after the entry of an appropriate order. So where did you see an order to destroy anything from the investigative genetic genealogy efforts? Now, so boom number one is, what if I told you that Bryan Kohberger's grandma slept with somebody else and that Bryan Kohberger's Bryan Kohberger's grandfather is really not his biological grandfather, which totally messes up your little, you think you're going to do this little quick tree. Okay. You get into a huge sloppy mess of trying to put together some type of, what that means is your first cousins, because your dad is not full blood to any of his siblings. So therefore it's like when your dad has kids and your dad's kid, and then his siblings have kids, those cousins aren't full blood of your cousins, which it's going to mess with your matches. So when you're getting your list of Bryan Kohberger matches, good luck, Chuck. Okay. It's not as clear, and it's going to take you a very, very long time. Even the best of the best. Now, everybody thinks that Bryan Kohberger, born, raised, came from Pennsylvania. Yeah, sure. But where? Yeah, baby. Ice cream sandwiches. As I was saying, if Kohberger is actually a really, really common name. And remember, before you did anything, the old school fashioned way to build your family tree out is to use, obituaries, birth records. I mean, you can use social media, but I'm saying, like, if you're not going to use DNA, there's old fashioned ways to do things. And the old fashioned way that you would have taken Bryan Kohberger is to, okay, we're going to go ahead and start with his parents, his siblings, and then you start building out. And you guys can go ahead and dig around to see when you come across some obituaries that why Bryan Kohberger's dad is MIA and stuff. So go ahead and take a look. But I believe that Bryan Kohberger's family originated in New York. Okay. And but there is a different Kohberger family in Pennsylvania that originated there. And so they can go ahead and deal with all of that themselves. But the bottom line is that you had nothing. Okay. You had nothing on Bryan Kohberger. You had this alleged placed sheath that had this alleged DNA on it. And that you just took that and nothing else from the crime scene to decide to do in genetic efforts, IGG efforts. And they came back so quickly with the name Bryan Kohberger that the only way, in my personal opinion, that you're coming back with something so quickly is you would have to hit so high on matches that you're able to build that tree so quickly. You can't come across a bunch of like parentage problems, like mommy and daddy aren't your mommy and daddy type problems. And that is the case with Bryan Kohberger. It's not with his parents, though. It's with his grandparents. And if your dad's dad is not his dad, it's going to royally fuck up somebody trying to use DNA to connect cousins, because that's what you do. You connect first cousins. Like, that's a big part of it. Because they should have your centimorgans are going to be really high. When a parent, you're hitting on a parent in a match, it's going to be like 3,500. And so, but the old-fashioned way, truly quickly, when you would do this, you would come across the fact of, whoa, I think we might have an issue here. Whoa, what's up with, whoa. And you would need a very, very good genealogist that is really good on the investigative end. But all these dates are so important. Bill Thompson would be so involved. And from the beginning, like I said in the intro, I said they never once mentioned that they used investigative genealogy. Right now, I don't even fucking know if they did. Right now, I want to see a body cam that has the sheath being able to be seen at some point by somebody. I want to see crime scene photos of the, that don't show us. I mean, obviously they can have a sheet there and take pictures of it, but the law enforcement way of doing anything is that you have to announce that you're law enforcement. You have to fill out more paperwork. It takes way longer if you're just a regular consumer. There's the receipts. This process just got a hell of a lot longer when you're having a parentage issue, like Bryan Kohberger's family has. And it truly now questions this this timeline, this time frame. I mean, I questioned it obviously before, and I proved why I was questioning it. And now we go and look at this policy, and we look at, like, how are you getting on a microphone in front of America and literally saying things that are just not true, not the way that you're supposed to be doing things. And then you have somebody like, Ann Taylor, who's a lawyer, and, she then has to get up on all the speed on how all of this works, unless you're going to go and get yourself an expert. And she went and got herself these experts. They didn't have a preliminary hearing. Okay. They were avoiding answering all of these discovery questions in the beginning. They were putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And there had to be request. Then there was compel. Okay. And here we are a year later, and what Ann Taylor requested January 10th of 2023, she still does not have. And this is what led you to Bryan Kohberger, and she does not have it. And they were going to try to bury it. They were not going to say that they got to Bryan Kohberger this way, but then things got fucked up. When you don't have good people representing you and your interests and your shitball, shady ball. So people out there that say that Ann Taylor is on the take and that because she went to the University of Idaho, I believe you guys are completely mistaken. You guys have your right to have your opinion on that. But Ann Taylor is doing everything, in my opinion, that she possibly can for this young man. And it's not even just his rights, but like, what's the truth here? Why are you guys hiding how y'all did this? The FBI uses Ortham's lab. That's who they use. So if it was, don't even get me started in the money, follow the money. Because the other thing is that when you use grant money like you did, okay, let me also explain something to you guys. Ready for this? I'll end by saying this. When you use government funded money, like they did in this case, you have an obligation right here. Each department component that either uses or funds another agency to use FGG for criminal investigation purposes, or that provides any unit of federal, state, local, or tribal government with grants awarding funding that is used like they did here. Okay, when you use grant money, guess what? Boom, number 5, you have no choice but to fucking do this right here. And this is what this is. You have to, again, no matter what comes about this, you have to do number 1, you have to list the type of crime investigated. Number 2, whether FGG was conducted on a forensic sample or a reference sample. Number 3 on this case, the type of forensic sample subjected to FGG and a description of the total amount that you used, the condition of what you obtained, and the concentration of that sample. Was it a single source? Was it a mixed profile? Was it degraded status? Number 4 is whether FGG analysis resulted in a searchable profile. Then number 5, the identity of the vendor laboratory used to conduct the FGG and GGG, any director to consumers, whoever you used, whatever you used, you documenting that. Again, when you use grant money, you have to do this. And they use grant money. They use grant money. And if they try to say that they did not use grant money, they're going down big time. Whether the investigation resulted in an arrest or not, you're gonna, document that. And then whether the investigation resulted in an arrest, was it based in part on the use of the FGGS? Okay. And then here you go, number 7. This is what I always say. Follow the motherfucking money. The total amount of federal funding used to conduct FGG in each case. Boom. You got to tell me how much money you spent on this case. How much money did you spend on this case? You have to, you have to do this. You have to do this. If you do not do this, you're not following the policy. And people can say, well, there isn't a policy. Yeah, this is the interim policy. Okay. And so when a judge wants to see that we're talking about a capital fucking, somebody is going to die that committed this crime. And it better not be the wrong person. Okay. And so you're going to do this. And if you don't, what should happen? And if you don't have the information, what should happen? All of it should fucking go out. All right. And when you look at this as a whole, and anybody out there that's going to say that they got to Bryan Kohberger without this is a fucking lying fool fuck. But now when I tell you that Bryan Kohberger's grandpa isn't Bryan Kohberger's grandpa, now let's talk about how quickly that you think that they got to Bryan Kohberger. There's your booms. And I did it within an hour. You couldn't have uploaded this into the databases as a consumer. You can't do that. You'd have a receipt for, you saying and you're announcing that you're law enforcement. And then, like I said, it's going to take a hell of a lot longer. Like we're talking 5 to 7 business days. We're talking, you have to go through way more. Then the lab person has to be authenticated that they were actually working for in its law enforcement kit. There's just so much. But at the end of the day, thank you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I saw a lot of gifted memberships. You guys rock. Freebird, K Miller, man, the evil, love him. Michelle, Tara, I do my homework. Liz, thank you so much. Suzanne, Zelda, Sunshine, welcome. Beckfist, welcome. Home Sweet Home, Rock Chalk, love you. 7 months, we're almost to a baby. Free Bird, look at all these people paying it forward to you guys. Casanova, kisses. K Miller again. Dogma. Love that name. I don't know why it gets me every time. Again, thank you guys so much. You can't just, I mean, you can, but Ann Taylor said it best. There's nothing connecting Bryan Kohberger to any of these victims. How do you get to Bryan Kohberger? Like, we're going to have to talk about this, and we're going to have to explain how you got to Bryan Kohberger. And was it this car that's going the wrong way at the wrong time that you can't even see? Wait, or is it this investigative genealogy that, how'd you build this tree? Then we're going to have to get all this lab stuff. We're going to have to get all this communication. We're going to have to get a lot of things, and they don't have it. They don't have it. And then you have to ask yourself, if you don't have this, I'm going to go ahead and assume then, and I may be making an ass out of you and me, but based on what I know, if you can't produce this stuff, then I'm going to go ahead and say that you never used it. You didn't use IGG, which means you were about to use IGG as a front for what I would say a setup and a frame job. And if I'm Ann Taylor, I'm going that route because I think that you can prove that. I think that you're able to prove that to a jury to say that this is what should happen. Have Idaho State Police, okay? They're the ones that went bragging and saying how great they are, okay? And they're over here bragging and talking about we're the first, here you go, in 2021 in July, wanting to brag and jerk themselves off. And you can't sit here and say that you don't know stuff and you don't know what to do and how to do things when you know exactly what you're supposed to do. And I think who's going to have to answer to a lot of questions here. I already sent a message, but right here, that's who your team lead is. That's who I think would have had to be involved in this IGG right there. That's one of the founding people of like doing a bunch of this shit that they're doing like nationally. But you know what you're supposed to do. You know how to do it, and you know the right way to do it. And none of it would have been done this way. And you're going to have to, the thing is, you're going to have to get a jury to you're going to have to break it down to a jury. So I think the jury members that they pick in this case, you can't pick fucking idiots. You need people that can comprehend that. That there's no way that they could have got to Bryan Kohberger the way that they said they got to Bryan Kohberger. And so I don't think that the DNA should be in. I think that it should be suppressed. And that's my opinion. Unless you can prove all of this stuff, which if they could, they wouldn't be holding it back. Because you guys, do you see why they wouldn't be holding it back? Let me show you why. Because in the DOJ policy, why would they be holding something back when they are telling you to hang on to it for the fucking use of prosecution? Do you see this? That is why when they're trying to protect this, there is no reason to protect it because the interim policy is that be prepared. We're going to be using it. You're going to use it and then you can't destroy anything until you have a court order. You can remove it so that it's not in a database of, whatever you used, but you don't. There's a difference between removing something from a database and destroying something. And if Bill Thompson does not know that, he has no business being I cannot believe that he is. I have no words. At first I thought that he was, just, being hoes and shit. No, dude, you're fucking part of this because you have to be part of it. You have to be part of it because that's what the interim policy says. And if you don't know that, and this whole time, Bill, that people have been excluding you from this process, well, then that's not my fucking problem. That's a you problem. That's not a Bryan Kohberger problem. That's a you fucking problem. But at the end of the day, we have 4 people that were murdered, and I think that they deserve better. And this isn't going to cut it. And I think the families need to see this. And, just like your kid should have never been murdered. Okay, we can't just go around and thinking that we're going to just take out a random person to make it all better. Sorry, but you just can't do that. If you can prove it, then this should have never been withheld. There's no reason to withhold this. And because it's telling you that you're going to need it. Okay, it's that simple. And anybody out there that's covering this case, mainstream media, y'all look like fucking fools. And no, I won't come work for you. I like right where I'm at. Drip drop, what do you think about them bombs? Boom. Oh, and since I have all of you guys here, I want to tell you that I got my hands on some footage. Okay, in the Dr. Drake, Dr. Moore case, I got actual footage from that night from a camera. Okay, guys, and I'm telling you, I'm about to show you guys. I don't know what's in the water in Idaho, okay, but the ISP detectives were trying to pass off 2 deer as humans in a video. Do you guys want to see this? Sorry, but like, I can't. I just, and I'm over here like, this can't be true. It's true. And so I want to show you guys a video. And I just, like I said, it's really hard for me to, I gotta laugh, because if I don't laugh, I'll cry, because it's just so wow. And Moscow Police Department said that they posted and said that the prosecutor in Pullman, so in that jurisdiction over there, said that they found no wrongdoing in Brent Kopaka's shooting. They went ahead and just put that out on blast today, which they're going to be hearing from me tomorrow. And let me go ahead and show you my deer. You guys need to see this. I think I showed you guys the other night the woman's car getting ripped, her window getting ripped out. Like, what the hell? Well, wow. Oh, and they also don't know what, this murder that happened with Dr. Drake, it happened on 3/12/2020. On 3/8, it was daylight savings. And in case anybody and everybody out there ever forgets this, your clocks, guys, they spring forward. So in the spring, you're going to turn them forward an hour. And in the fall, you fall back. Okay. Well, in Idaho, they do it opposite. They literally fucked up their times, because they said that they should, no, we have to turn that back. We have to turn that back because it wasn't turned back and it just had been daylight savings. I'm like, no, you go forward. You spring forward. I don't know who taught y'all anything to do about daylight savings, but yeah. So then their times on these surveillance cameras that they want to use in court are the wrong way. And they want to show deer as people. And I said, this has to be the most absurd shit. And this is how they arrested Dan Moore. They said that it was him walking across, and it's a fucking deer. Like, how do you get away with this shit? How do you ruin someone's life like this? Does anybody give a fuck? And I'm just like, this is insane. Like, this is okay. So let me bring this up for you guys. Here we go. Here we go. Take a look at the deer, guys. And then again, thank you guys so much. You guys rock. On your way out, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up. Hit the thumbs down. You guys have an opinion, make it known. Whatever it might be. I mean, you guys stuck around, so hopefully. Let's see if this is just. Again, thank you so much. Oh, why did it just do that? Let me see. Okay, here we go. Okay. You want to download. Sorry, 1 second there. Thank you. Huh. I might have to wait till I can pull this up in my yeah, I might have to make a separate video. It's not uploading the way that I want it to. Sorry about that, guys. But basically, you know me. If I'm gonna say it, I have receipts. But yeah, I got the deer video. But I'll put it out there as a separate 25-second video. And it's literally they say that this is a person and it's 2 deer. And that this is Dan Moore walking over to go ahead and kill Dr. Drake. And this is what they put in their slideshow. ISP did. And I can't even believe it. Like, I don't have any words. But yeah, I'll put it out there. So again, tomorrow, guys, there is no hearing or anything like that. It's just the deadline to get the information to the judge. So December 1st is that deadline where they have to turn over everything, whatever they have. And then the judge is going to go through everything. And I said at the beginning, how does the judge know if they received everything? Like, how does he know what should be there and what shouldn't be there? So it should be interesting. But yeah, go ahead and run this back. Bunch of bombs in there. And I think your biggest bomb is that they didn't follow any interim policy, not at all. And there's a huge problem with the parentage linking of the Kohberger family. So you making that tree is going to be very, very difficult, and it's going to involve a lot more time, and it's going to involve a really good genealogist. So, and we all know that I broke down when they would have had that name and the search warrants, and I mean everything revolved around Bryan Kohberger. So, thank you guys again on your way out. Hit the thumbs up. Thank you, moderators. Thank you guys for buying all those memberships for other people. Way to pay it forward. Appreciate you.
It's November 29th. 4 people that were murdered, and you want to fuck around. You got 8 families that are being affected by this, and they just mean nobody from the universe.
Shock value. And so what he did was he had taken pictures of California.
Oh, you're from I would be outraged if I lived in Moscow right now. I'd be lighting some cars on fire out there. I'd be flipping some cars. I'd get the frats going wild with me. Let's get some noise complaints going.